Before you go, I want to hear from you. Which of these lessons spoke to you the most? And what's one habit you've used to stay disciplined in your own life? Share your experience in the comments. I read every single one because this channel is about learning and growing together. If this video gave you something valuable, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone who needs this reminder today, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every single week. Your support helps this community grow and keeps these ideas alive. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one. Lesson 1. Don't let feelings drive the wheel. Have you ever noticed how often feelings try to take control of your life? You wake up and think, I'll skip the workout today. You plan to start that project, but your mind whispers, not now, maybe later. Most people listen. They let comfort steer the car and then wonder why they never arrive where they want to be. Here's the truth. Discipline begins where feelings end. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what needs to be done even if your mind protests." He wasn't talking about being harsh on yourself, he was talking about freedom. Because if you live by feelings, you're not free. You're a prisoner to moods and impulses. Every single choice is a vote. Skip the workout. You vote for the weaker version of yourself. Show up even when you don't feel like it. You vote for strength. Which one wins? The one you feed most often. Ask yourself, how many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow, and then tomorrow turned into a week, a month, a year? I've sat with people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s who told me the same thing. I wish I had started earlier, but it's never too late to start closing that gap. Next time your mind says, not now, do it anyway. Get up, take the walk, make the call, write the page. Because action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. The storm of hesitation always comes before the calm of clarity. Feelings are temporary. Regret lasts forever. Who's in control, your values or your moods? If it's moods, you're a passenger. But when discipline takes the wheel, you're finally steering toward the life you were meant to live. Lesson 2. Live as if you're being watched by yourself. 10 years from now. Imagine this 10 years from now, you walk into a room and meet yourself. That person has lived with every choice you made. Would they thank you or resent you? Would they say, I'm proud of what you built, or whisper, why did you waste so much time? Every action is a vote for the person you become. Not in theory, in reality. Skipping a workout isn't just skipping a workout. Breaking a promise to yourself isn't just a small failure. It's proof you can't trust yourself. And when that pattern repeats for years, it shapes your entire life. The Stoics were obsessed with this truth. Life is short, and time is non-refundable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? That question is brutal, but it cuts through excuses. It forces you to ask, will this matter tomorrow, next year, in a decade? So here's a simple practice. Before you act, pause and ask, what would the future me thank me for? Not what feels good now, but what matters then. Will they thank you for another hour of scrolling, or for using that hour to walk to learn to build something meaningful? I've seen this change lives. People who thought they were too old to start over realize something: the next 10 years are going to pass anyway. The question is, will you look back with pride or regret? Stop living like no one's watching. Live like the most important person is, and that person is you, a decade from now. Lesson 3. Know what to keep. Know what to let go. Look at your life for a moment. Not just the things you own, but your habits, your commitments, your relationships. How much of it is truly essential, and how much is just noise disguised as necessary, but secretly draining your time and energy? We live in a culture obsessed with adding more work, more goals, more stuff. But here's the Stoic truth. Strength isn't about doing everything. It's about knowing what matters most and having the courage to cut the rest. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most people don't run out of time, they just spend it on the wrong things. The problem isn't that life is too short. The problem is that we clutter it. We fill our days with tasks that don't move us forward, relationships that weigh us down, and distractions that numb us instead of nourish us. And then we wonder why we feel so exhausted and empty. So, what does letting go look like? It means cutting what is toxic, even if it's familiar. It means saying no to obligations that don't align with your values. It means deleting apps that steal hours from your day. It means recognizing that every yes to something meaningless is a no to something essential. I've worked with people who were overwhelmed, burned out, always busy, but never fulfilled. When we traced the cause, it wasn't lack of effort, it was lack of clarity. They were saying yes to everything and everyone except themselves. Once they started cutting the noise, something incredible happened. Space appeared. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space for what truly mattered. So here's my challenge to you: make a list of everything that drains your energy without giving real value. Be ruthless. Then remove one thing this week. Just one. Maybe it's an extra meeting. Maybe it's a toxic conversation you've been tolerating. Maybe it's scrolling before bed. And remember this, you don't become strong by holding on to everything. You become strong by letting go of what doesn't serve your highest purpose. Because the life you want isn't built by adding more. It's built by focusing on less but better. So ask yourself today, what in my life is noise, and what is the signal I need to protect? Answer that honestly, and you'll find freedom you didn't know you had. Lesson 4. Turn discipline into identity. Not a burden. When people hear the word discipline, they often imagine pain, restriction, punishment, a joyless life of saying no to everything. No wonder so many give up. Who wants to live in a prison of self-imposed rules? But that's not what Stoic discipline is about. Discipline isn't a cage, it's a compass. It's the framework that sets you free to become the person you claim you want to be. The problem is, most people treat discipline as an act, not an identity. They see it as something they have to do instead of something they are. And when discipline is just a chore, it will always feel heavy. Here's the truth. If you want discipline to last, it must become part of your character. Not I'm trying to be disciplined, but I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, working out isn't a task, it's what people like you do. Waking up early isn't punishment, it's part of your nature. James Clear put it well. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The Stoics would agree. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You become what you give your thoughts and time to." Your habits aren't just habits, they're proof of your identity in motion. So how do you make discipline part of who you are? Start with small wins that reinforce your story. If you tell yourself, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start, then every time you complete a task, no matter how small, you're casting a vote for that identity. Do it often enough and it becomes your truth. This isn't about perfection. You will slip. You will fail. That's part of the process. But every time you return to your principles, you strengthen the muscle of self-respect. Because that's what real discipline is, respect for yourself enough to follow through when nobody's watching. I've worked with people who hated discipline because they saw it as the enemy of freedom. But the moment they embraced it as a defining trait, something clicked. They no longer asked, "Do I feel like doing this?" They asked, "What would the best version of me do right now?" And then they acted. So make this your mantra: I keep promises to myself. Let that become your identity. Because when discipline stops being a burden and starts being who you are, success is no longer a fight, it's inevitable. Now ask yourself, what identity are you voting for today? Lesson 5. True freedom comes only when you control yourself. We live in a world that shouts, freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want. It sounds seductive, doesn't it? But here's the catch. That version of freedom is a lie. If you do whatever you feel whenever you feel it, you're not free. You're a slave to impulse, a prisoner of mood swings. Think about it. You can be rich, famous, admired by millions, but if you can't say no to your cravings, your anger, your fears, are you truly free? The Stoics said no. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he claimed to be freer than most emperors. Why? Because he controlled the only thing that truly matters, himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That is Stoic freedom. Not the freedom to indulge every desire, but the freedom to choose the right action, even when every emotion screams against it. Let me tell you a story from my coaching work. A man in his 60s, wealthy, retired, but miserable. Why, he couldn't stop drinking. He couldn't stop gambling. He said, "I thought freedom meant I earned the right to do what I want." But those wants chained him. His bank account was full, but his soul was bankrupt. Only when he chose structure, when he learned to master small daily disciplines, did he feel something he hadn't felt in years: peace. This is the paradox. The Stoics understood limits create liberty. When you can control your tongue, you're free from regret. When you can control your schedule, you're free from chaos. When you can control your thoughts, you're free from suffering. That's why discipline isn't punishment. It's the key that unlocks the highest form of freedom. So ask yourself, where am I still a slave to food, to anger, to other people's opinions? Identify the chains and start breaking them one link at a time. Because real power isn't about ruling others, it's about ruling yourself. Freedom is not the absence of rules. Freedom is living by the right rules, the ones you choose, the ones that make you proud when you look in the mirror 10 years from now. Lesson 6. Start with the big 3. Sleep, food, movement. Everybody wants to talk about success habits, wake up at 4 a.m., read 100 books a year, build a side hustle. But let me be brutally honest, none of that matters if you're running on fumes. If you don't master the basics, everything else collapses. The Stoics were practical people. They believed in philosophy you could live, not just recite. And they knew something modern science now confirms: your mind cannot perform when your body is broken. That's why the foundation of discipline, the starting line for every great life, is the big 3: sleep, nutrition, movement. Let's start with sleep. We glorify exhaustion like it's a badge of honor, but sleep deprivation makes you weak, impulsive, and miserable. Marcus Aurelius wrote about rising at dawn with strength, but only because he respected the body's need for rest. 8 hours isn't laziness. It's preparation for war, the daily battle against distraction, temptation, and chaos. Next, food. Your body is the hardware that runs your mind. Feed it garbage and everything slows down. The Stoics practiced moderation because they knew overeating, drinking too much, indulging in excess, it doesn't free you. It enslaves you. Every time you choose simple, nourishing food over mindless consumption, you train the muscle of self-control. Finally, movement. Not for vanity, for vitality, for the strength to live your values in action. You don't need a fancy gym. Walk every day, stretch, lift something heavy. Do it not to look good for Instagram, but to show your mind who's in charge. When people in their 50s and 60s come to me saying I feel stuck, I ask them about these 3 first. Why? Because if your body is broken, your willpower will always be on crutches. You can't expect mental resilience when you're chronically tired, inflamed, and stiff. So here's your first challenge. Pick 1. Fix your bedtime. Prepare 1 healthy meal. Take a 20-minute walk. Small wins repeated daily become unstoppable momentum. The Stoics understood that greatness isn't built on grand gestures. It's built on simple disciplines stacked day after day until strength becomes your default state. Start with the big 3. Everything else flows from there. Lesson 7. Action over emotion. Here's a hard truth. Most people live like prisoners of their feelings. They wait for motivation, for the perfect mood, for that magical moment when everything feels right. But let me ask you, how often does that moment come? Rarely, if ever. And that's why most lives never change. The Stoics understood something we've forgotten. Action is. The master emotion is the servant. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At every hour, give your full concentration to the task at hand." He didn't say, "when you feel like it." He said, "do it." Because feelings are fickle. They come and go like clouds. If you build your life on them, your foundation will always be shaky. Let me share a story. I once coached a man in his late 50s who wanted to get back in shape. He said, "I'm waiting for the motivation to hit." 3 months later, nothing had changed. Why? Because motivation is a myth. You don't wait for it. You create it. How? By acting first. Here's the paradox. The more you act, the more motivated you feel. The less you act, the weaker you get. Energy follows effort, not the other way around. If you want to feel strong, start by acting strong even when you feel tired. If you want to feel focused, begin by focusing even when you're distracted. Action is the ignition key that starts the engine of emotion. Think about this. How many dreams have died in the waiting room of, "I'll start when I feel ready"? The Stoics didn't live like that. They didn't chase moods, they chased virtue. They didn't say, "I don't feel like doing my duty today." They said, "My duty is my nature, therefore I will act." So here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Every time you hear yourself say, "I don't feel like it," respond with this. That's irrelevant. Then do the thing, make the call, write the page, go for the walk. Don't wait for the storm to pass, move in the rain. Action over emotion. That's the Stoic way. And when you master it, you'll realize something profound. Freedom isn't doing what you feel like, it's doing what you said you would do, no matter how you feel. Lesson 8. Voluntary hardship. Training. Your willpower. Comfort is killing us, slowly, quietly, without resistance. We live in a world where almost everything is designed to make life easier. Fast food, instant entertainment, one-click shopping. And yet, have you noticed we're more anxious, weaker, and less resilient than ever? Why? Because when life removes the struggle, we stop growing. The Stoics knew this long before smartphones and convenience culture. They believed in practicing discomfort on purpose. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" Why? To remind yourself that hardship won't break you, that you can endure and thrive. Modern psychology backs this up. Resilience is built through stress. Not chronic stress, but chosen stress. When you choose hard things, you train your mind like a muscle. And when real hardship comes, and it will, you're ready. So, how do we do this today? Simple practices. Take a cold shower. Skip a meal once a week. Leave your phone behind on a walk. Say no to sugar for 7 days. These aren't punishments, they're training drills. Every time you choose discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your impulses. I had a client in his 60s who practiced this by walking to the store in winter without a coat, not recklessly, but as a challenge. He told me, "At first it was awful. Then one day I realized I'm not fragile. I'm tougher than I thought." That discovery changed everything for him. Voluntary hardship teaches you two powerful truths. Most of what we fear is an illusion. You don't need ideal conditions to live well, you need inner strength. Start small. This week, pick one act of chosen difficulty. Embrace the cold shower, skip the easy path. Feel the discomfort and do it anyway. Because when you make a habit of doing what others avoid, you build a resilience that no storm can break. This is how the Stoics forged unshakable character, not in comfort, but in challenge. And if you want that same strength, start seeking what others run from. Lesson 9. Build a system, not just goals. Everybody loves setting goals. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'll read 30 books this year. I'll finally start that business. Goals feel good because they give us a sense of progress even before we've done a single thing. But here's the brutal truth. Goals don't change your life. Systems do. The Stoics never said, "Dream big and visualize success." They said, "Act according to nature. Do your duty every day." Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up thinking, "I want to be the best emperor ever." He thought, "What's the right thing to do in this moment?" Because the present moment is where character is built. The problem with goals is they live in the future. But one day never comes unless you build a system, a daily process that makes the outcome inevitable. Think about it. If your goal is to lose weight, what matters more, the number on the scale or the system of eating well and moving daily? The system wins every time. A system is like a track for a train. Once it's laid down, the train can only go in one direction forward. When you rely on willpower alone, you derail at the first sign of fatigue. But when you build a system, you remove friction. You make good choices automatic and bad choices harder. So how do you build one? Start simple. Want to read more? Put a book by your bed and commit to one page before sleep. Want to eat better? Remove junk food from your house so it's harder to make a bad choice at midnight. Want to exercise? Schedule it in your calendar, like a meeting with your future self, because that's exactly what it is. The Stoics understood this principle long before habit stacking became a trend. They knew that greatness isn't built in grand gestures, but in small, repeated actions that align with virtue. They didn't obsess over the finish line, they focused on the next step. So, here's the challenge: take one goal you have and ask, what system will make this inevitable? Then build that system and trust the process. Because when you live by systems, success stops being an event and starts being a lifestyle. Remember, this goals give you direction, but systems keep you moving even when motivation fades. And in the long game of life, momentum is everything. Lesson 10. The power of personal rules. Imagine playing a game where there are no rules. Total chaos. Everyone does whatever they want. That's what most people's lives look like. No rules, no structure, just reacting to impulses. And then they wonder why they feel lost. The Stoics had rules, not imposed by society, but chosen deliberately by themselves for themselves. Why? Because personal rules give you something rare in today's world: stability. When everything outside is chaos, your rules keep you grounded. Marcus Aurelius had a rule: never waste time on things that don't matter. Epictetus had a rule: never blame others for your choices. These weren't suggestions. They were laws, written in the stone of their character. And when temptation came knocking, they didn't negotiate. The rule had already decided for them. That's the power of personal rules. They remove decision fatigue. When you say, I don't eat after 8 p.m., or I don't check social media before noon, you don't waste energy debating every day. The choice is already made, and the more decisions you automate, the more willpower you save for things that truly matter. I've seen this transform lives. A man I worked with had a rule: I never missed 2 workouts in a row. He wasn't perfect, but that one rule kept him on track for years. Another woman had this: I answer messages after I finish my morning routine. It sounds simple, but those rules built the structure that held their lives together when stress hit. So what rules should you set? Start with 2 or 3 that align with your values. Make them clear. Make them non-negotiable. Write them down where you see them daily. They should feel like promises to your future self, because that's what they are. And here's the most important part. Don't make rules you can't respect. Make them realistic. Make them meaningful. And when you break one, and you will, don't quit. Reflect, adjust, and recommit. Because the truth is, freedom isn't the absence of rules. Freedom is living by rules. You've chosen rules that turn chaos into clarity and weakness into strength. Ask yourself, what 3 rules could change the trajectory of my life if I followed them for the next year? Write them down. Start today, and watch how fast order replaces disorder. So ask yourself tonight, what's one hard thing I've been avoiding? Then do it tomorrow. Because every time you choose discipline over comfort, you choose freedom over slavery. Thank you for spending this time with me. If these Stoic lessons spark something inside, you don't let it stop here. Take action today. And before you leave, tell me in the comments, which principle will you start practicing right now? I want to hear your story. If this message added value to your life, hit like, share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe for more insights every week. We're building a community of people who choose wisdom over noise, discipline over chaos. Be part of it. Until next time, stay calm, stay strong, and remember, control yourself and you control your world.